everybody, it's me, Player Negative, and like I said, I'm a man of my words, so I'm going to be explaining the lore to Kingdom Hearts. But for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to directly talk about only the first game, because by the will of all that is good, I'm not writing that. Alright, but before I get into the first game, I gotta explain how a bunch of this stuff works. So let's start off with how this world and universe works. So basically, everything evolves around light and darkness, and the way that light and darkness is processed and looked at is through hearts. Basically, a person's soul and the combination of their being. Kind of like Undertale, but a little bit more complex. If a human being loses their heart, or it's overtaken by darkness, they split into two separate beings, a heartless and a nobody. These become your standard enemies you're mainly meant to fight. And while you can kill them by a lot of different means, the main way you mainly kill them is with a keyblade, which is an oversized weapon, which is a mixture between a sword, a gun, and a magic wand. These things are busted as hell, and they're basically designed to kill Heartless, restore worlds, and basically whatever the plot demands of it. Now, around this time, the kingdom.Hearts was discovered, a giant moon that basically is the source of all hearts and all light and darkness. Now, a group of Keyblade wielders fought over this, starting the Great Keyblade War. Now, a good majority of them chose not to engage in the war, which led to the newer Keyblade wielders of today, but that's not really important. What you gotta know is that these Keyblades are pulled and are born from the wielder's heart, and if you want to grab one of them without going through that, there's an entire sinkhole full of them known as the Keyblade Graveyard. Good? Good. Alright, let's get into the beginning of the story. So, the story begins on Destiny Island, a random place in the universe of Final Fantasy. Where is it? I don't know, and I do not care. Just please stop asking questions. Anyways, there are 3 random kids on this island, but that matter relevant to the story. Riku, Sora, and Kairi. Now, because they have the random Pokemon trope, meaning despite their age, they're allowed to travel out on their own, they all build a raft to head out to who knows where to explore the world and find their own path in life. You know, basic stuff. Which all is good, until a bunch of Heartless start invading. Because Sora is so weak, he calls upon the kindness of his heart, releasing his own Keyblade, but not just any Keyblade, the Kingdom Key, which is connected to the Keyblade, which I'm just going to refer to as the X-Blade, because I say they're connected because they share a similar appearance, and also there are 2 Keyblades that resemble it, the X-Blade that look like it, so I feel like it's worth talking about. And basically, Sora manages to beat the crap out of the Heartless, Riku gets sucked through a portal, and then everything explodes in a heat of darkness, launching Sora across time and space until he ends up in Traveler's Town. Now, around the same time this is happening, Donald Duck and Goofy find a letter saying that Mickey Mouse dipped out and joined the war against the Heartless and assigns them to find the Kingdom Key Keyblade wielder, which is where they find Sora in Traveler's Town. From there, they go across multiple Disney worlds. Now, I know a lot of people love to tell me that it doesn't matter to the overall plot, but it does. Because each Disney character basically influences Sora's character development. This becomes a staple in most of the other games moving forward. However, I'm not going to go into every Disney level because that's going to be a pain in the butt, and my body can't take that sort of explanation going through with that. So we're just gonna not talk about it for now. Anyways, later on, we end up at Hollow Bastion, a random castle, and also you may recognize as a stage from Smash Brothers. From there, Sora meets Riku, but turns out Riku's corrupted by darkness and captured by Ansem. From there, Riku steals Sora's Keyblade, and Donald and Goofy's basically dip out because they see that their allegiance is with the Keyblade and not with him. Later on, they take a mopey walk with Beast from Beauty and the Beast because for some reason he's there. I don't know why. Do not ask me. He's just there. And from there, they basically realize that this is all a hoax, and they later reclaim their right, the Kingdom Key. Then we learn that Riku's been possessed by Ansem, or Xehanort, which I'll get into that can of worms much, much later. And the two duke it out in a fight. After that, it's pointed out that Kairi is just sitting there on the floor. Again, don't ask questions, just deal with it. And from there, it's explained that the Keyblade, or the X-Blade, got split into 7 pieces of light and 13 shards of darkness, and they're gathering the 7 beings of light within their heart, and Kairi is one of them, right next to all the other Disney princesses. You good? You're good. All right, let's get into the next half of the section. After Xehanort, with this understanding being mentioned, this is where I have to go back to the beginning of the game. So remember when the entire island exploded? Well, apparently Sora had Kairi phase through them, and their heart was stuck in them. So Sora does the only logical thing. He stabs himself with a random Keyblade, unleashing Kairi's heart, bringing her back, but also turning him into a Heartless. And this is where I got to discuss the part that basically contradicts everything we know about this universe. You see, any rules that break what I have stated either come down to time travel, anime bullcrap, or Disney magic. And in this case, it was Disney magic that turned him back into a normal person despite being a Heartless. This also creates 2 nobodies who exist even though their bodies are restored. Roxas and Naminé. But they will be important later on for the sequel, and I'm not talking about that. Anyways, Donald, Goofy, Sora, and Roxas all duke it out against Xehanort until he's killed. But in his last dying breath, he attempts to open up the door to Kingdom Hearts, which he assumes leads to the door to darkness, but instead is an overwhelming mass of powerful light, and he gets flashbanged and dies. Now, Sora attempts to close the door to make sure Xehanort's Heartless and/or nobody tries to go back for the door, but instead Riku and Mickey close the door from the inside, basically stopping him and assuring him that there will always be a Kingdom Hearts to stay around and that they will fight for the light. After that, Sora decides to head out to find the Kingdom Hearts and to figure out where Roxas and Mickey are to join the fight. And that is the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. If I missed any details, it's because I'm trying to go through this without having an aneurysm. Well, I'm Player Negative, and I hope you had a good time. Hope this was clean and simple, if you know what I mean.